Today Barky and I will be doing the 600 gold per minute tutorial. Here is a preview of the grinder functioning. So I hope you guys like the grinder and enjoy the tutorial. Enjoy the tutorial and happy grinding. Here's the tutorial for the 600 gold per minute grinder. First we want to find the middle of the plot. Follow the method shown here to do so. Once you find it, delete all the blocks around it. Then scale it to the edge of the plot. Next we are going to measure the platform size for the spawn catcher. The dimensions on it will be 110 studs wide and 78 studs long. Length is the dimension going towards waterfall, while width is the dimension going towards the walls on the plot. Just follow what I am doing with the scale tool for this part. Once you have the right size, you'll want to make it thinner, so it doesn't use as many blocks. I made it 1 stud thick, but you can go really thin at 0.1 studs thick. If you don't have many blocks for it, just make each layer is above the other at around the height of your avatar's torso. Now we just clone it until the layers are above the trees, so you don't get stuck while AFK grinding. It doesn't need to be above the flag poles, by the way. It just needs to be above all the trees, which includes their leaves. Now we find the middle of the plot again, so that we can make the funnels on the top of the platforms. Now simply scale it through all the platforms, so that they don't break apart when you unanchor it. Now place another block and scale it forwards a bit, so that we can make the ramps that will push you in the portals. Now you want to turn your rotation to 45 degrees, so that you can make an incline that the conveyor can push you with, so you go in the portal. There will also be a 45-degree angle block in front of the ramps to push players who hit the middle of the spawn catcher. Scale a 45-degree block to the right and left side. Now scale it 12 studs high. Then scale it until it almost goes off the edge of the grinder, then place a portal next to it. Then once you do that, place another 45-degree block and scale it on the other side of the portal. Here I am placing a 45-degree angled block in front to ensure the player goes to a side. This is not necessary, but it might help slightly. Now just place the portal similar to how I am right now. This part isn't very precise, so you can make mistakes. And one of the final steps on the spawn catcher will be adding a wall on the back. This will make sure that you don't fly off it in case the server lags. Now we'll be adding pistons to push the spawn catcher over the spawns. You need 12 pistons here, and I forgot to show this, but afterwards place a lever to connect it. Now connect it to the wall and save. And you're done with the spawn catcher. Here we are placing a block on the central connector. In the spawn catcher, once you place the block, scale it to 115 studs and place a seat on the end. Now we will make a platform behind the seat and delete the pole. The seat is on, make sure this is all anchored. The platform should be at least 50 for studs wide. This will be where the rods will be for the AFK grinder and where you will set up. Now add a block to one side of the platform and add 3 pistons on the ground below it, then connect the pistons and the block. Now add a lever connected to it. Again, I forgot lol. Place a block on either side of the platform that are separated by 50 studs. These will be the rods for the grinder. Now simply scale these rods to 1,950 studs tall. This is the distance between white team and the first stage. Now we will make the vertical tube, which is the rocket-propelled portal. There will be a top and a bottom. The top is 40 studs and the bottom is 50. Start by making a platform 10 studs wide and 50 studs long. You want to the same on the other side, but this time 10 studs wide and 40 long. You can also do 12 or 13 studs wide if you want to skip a very small step later. Make sure these tubes never touch in any form. Now clone and rotate them until you make a tube. The next step is placing a portal at the end of the 40 length tube. You'll want to make sure it is centered since this is an important step. Now move the tubes close together but still not touching. This will make sure you don't fall out of the grinder while you are using it. This is also a very important step. You need to place a layers of blocks behind the portal. This will allow the rocket-propelled portal to work. Also, you will want to scale it into the portal around 1 stud. Now go into the top tube and start scaling blocks similar to how I do. You will do this until you have a 2x1 stud hole right above the middle of the portal. The scaling on the outside doesn't have to be exact, but the 2x1 hole does have to be. This process may take a bit to do, but try to make it as similar to what I did as possible. This is a pretty vital step to getting the grinder's full efficiency. But now I will be silent while I finish step so you can try to focus. And now, we're done with that section of the tube. The next step is to find the center of the walls. Using the scale tool and place a block there. Next, we're going to do the same on the other side with another block. Now make the first tube smaller if you made it the same height and width as the other. This will prevent the tubes from touching, which would ruin the conveyors if they did touch. Scale both blocks to 76 studs long. Once they are at the right length, you will want to connect them. Now we will place a slightly rotated portal at the end of this tube. Make sure to center this one as well. Next, we close off the bottom of the tube so you don't fall out during lag spikes. Here I am centering the portal. The next step is to move it, so the connection for the 2 titanium rods are over the obsidian rod. This will connect the tubes and transfer the downward conveyor to only the top module. Now you will want to place a block on the obsidian rod. You will then scale this to 770 studs tall. This will be the length between tubes. This took me a second to do, so you might want to skip ahead a bit. And now we just have to do one more thing. Since the portal is touching the rods, we have to have them separated. To do this, just simply move the rods around the portal similar to how I do. Scale this block into the other ones that it is placed on as well, so the conveyor transfers. Now our rocket tube is done. Now we will be making diagonal tubes. Start by placing a block at 45 degrees. Scale it to 60 studs long in total. Now scale it to 12 studs wide, then clone it into a tube. Clone it 12 studs up, so it is the right size too. Now clone both of those platforms. Then rotate them a bit like I did to finish the tube. I scaled them here, but this is not necessary. I just wanted it to look good. Now place two portals lengthwise of the tube. Follow what I do here with two portals as shown. Now move both these in so they aren't sticking out. The next step will be to add a wall behind the portals. This will stop you from getting flung out. Now add a 45-degree portal here, as shown. Move it in a bit so the wall will fit. Now add the wall behind the portal. Some parts can stick out. Now you'll want to connect the two tubes. Make sure to connect only the bottom of the rocket tube. This will prevent the conveyors from mixing. Now you will want to clone the pole over 50 studs. This will allow for optimal duping or cloning. This depends on which you do, but I chose cloning. Now scale the pole up a bit so it doesn't stick in the tube. Now select both tubes and rods and clone it up 770 studs. Now that we cloned it, we will extend the old tube to 90 studs. I know it says 80 here, but I will later show that I changed it to 90. So I just recommend doing it now instead. Here I am rotating and moving the portal forward a bit. You will want to do this to the clone tube as well. This is to make later cloning easier. Make sure the transparent part of the portal touches the roof like shown. And here's the length of the dupe tube. Now go to the first rocket-propelled portal. Once you are there, make the roof a lot taller. After some testing, making it thicker helped not getting flung out as much. I extended it to 15 total studs. For the diagonal tube that we duped, you'll also want to do this. Delete the two vertical portals and place one horizontally against the wall. It should be something similar to this. This tube was already decent, but I'll insert a picture of a very bad tube. So you'll want to rotate the portal one down and move it one in. This will make it go from this to this dot. This will prevent the grinder from breaking easily. The end of the portal's light circle needs to touch the roof. Like this. Now we dupe. Go to the second tube and follow what I do. Don't mind the two portals on the bottom of the tube, since you fixed that already. I didn't realize it until I was painting portals. So you will just want to clone the tubes and rods up 770 studs. If you dupe instead of clone, then you will want to find the center of the top of the rods. Then you will want to place a seat in the center of that rods after connecting them. Then scale the rods below the tubes down so they aren't touching. Then you'll save. Go to magenta team since it's better than yellow. And go by the waterfall dot, then you'll load in the grinder. Come back and fly out and sit in the seat you placed. Finally you'll anchor all and save. Then unicore and continue this until you have 9 tubes. Then you would connect the bottom rods to the tubes again. But I do cloning since it is much easier. Oh, and to connect yourself to the grinder. For duping, place a cake on the edge of the seat. It will be on the edge of the seat so it's half on the seat and half in the block of the grinder. Now we have 9 clone tubes. So all that is left for these will be to paint them later and add walls. Now we change the piston length on the bottom to 0.3 studs length. Now scale the rod on top of the grinder down to 210 studs. Then we will add our disposal system in case you don't get the end chest. Start by making a 12 by 11 stud platform like I did here. Now add some walls here that are 13 by 10 studs, such as I did. Then you want to clone it to the other side of the platform. Here I turned it to 12 by 12 for the floor. And now place a portal on the 12 by 12 stud floor. Now add a floor as shown and scale the walls into the floor. Now rotate some blocks and make some ramps in front of the portal. Then once you do that, make sure they're scaled into the walls so there's no gaps. I scaled mine to 12 by 2 by 3.5 studs. Next we add a roof and we're done with the disposal segment. Now we are going to scale the rods to a total of 1855 studs tall. Do this on both rods as I am doing here. These two weren't the exact same height, so just even them out. I just cloned one over to the other side and copied the height to the other rod. Now we will make the end portion. These measurements aren't exact, but I'll show you my measurements at the end. First we want to find the center of the rods like so. Once we have the middle, we will place the pistons. You will want to place 33 pistons with one at length 3.3. Again, this is not exact, but I'll show my personal measurements at the end. Now you will want to clone the pistons to either side of the rods. It will have to be on the furthest block on each side as shown here. Now just place a block on the pistons and scale it to 5.4 studs. The cloning I just did was unnecessary, so I'd recommend just placing it long. Next you will want to place around two pistons on the block. As shown here, this will align the end pieces when the grinder is set up. Next we'll be placing a portal on the piston of the rod, connected to the rocket tubes. This will propel you into the end faster than regular designs, increasing the efficiency by a ton. Next, just place a block on the back of the portal. Then scale it to encase the portal so everything is covered. This will allow the rocket glitch to work properly. My measurements for this were 14 by 14 by 6 studs. You'll want to move this up a bit, so they aren't inside one another. Now place a block on the piston and scale it into a 14 by 14 platform. Now place a portal on that platform like I did here. Now place a portal on the platform and add walls around it. Now you should be done with the end unless you need more precise measurements. I also moved it forward a bit, so it wouldn't intersect with the other section. Next we paint the portals, so this is in 3x speed, since I messed up some stuff earlier. But don't worry, I'm nice, so I told you how to fix that before you completely messed up. So now just listen to the music and have fun painting the portals. And you're done with painting. If you had any issues, feel free to comment. There is a pattern, so I hope that helps some lol. Now we will add some walls. This step is optional, but it makes the grinder much less likely to break. Just cover each tube, but make sure the walls do not touch one another or the tubes. If they touch, then the conveyor will mingle, breaking the farm. So just let it touch the rods, and that is it. You can be pretty random if you choose to do this step. There isn't a necessary size or anything, as long as it covers it all lol. Now move these in and delete the one next to the other tube. This works even if you made the walls around the other tube. Now clone it and flip it to the other tube as shown here. Next, scale the walls out 3 studs each, so they are close to each other but not touching. Now select all the parts of the wall with the trowel tool. Once you do so, clone it up 770 studs repeatedly until it covers every tube. And now the grinder itself is fully done. Oh, and here are the final measurements I had. I ended up using 35 pistons, all 10.3 length. Then I changed a piston on the bottom platform to 6.4 length. And finally the rod was changed to 1757 studs long. Hope this helps. Now we will be making the setup for the grinder. Start by moving the seat up by 20.9 studs. Then place a portal on front of the seat. Now add 3 levers and connect them to separate components. One will be connected to the spawn catcher pistons, another to the 3 pistons on the setup platform, and then another for all the end pistons. You don't need to individually link all the end pistons. Just do something similar to what I did here. Now we are making the downward conveyor setup. Make a pull and then extend it a few studs forward with another block. Next, place a jet facing down on the block. Then move it down a few blocks and then place a block on the jet like so. Next, connect the block on the jet and the block on the platform with a spring. Now place a car seat that is connected to the jet and you're done with that. Now place a glue block with a jet on top and a block on that jet. Then place a car seat next to it connected to the jet and there's a conveyor setup. The jet can be any speed, but the faster the better for this in my opinion. So I'd recommend doing either a red jet or a purple jet at their maximum speed. Next, go to the water and place 3 blocks up. Now add a gold harpoon on top of that dot. Now save the grinder and you're fully done. Here is how to set up the grinder. Here I'm saving it since I forgot before. First, uncore the entire grinder and flick all the switches. Now activate the jet on the downward setup and anchor the block. Now delete all the other parts to that setup except the anchored block. Now go to the other jet conveyor and delete the glue. Turn on the jet and quickly anchor the block. Now delete the jet and scale the block into the pistons for the grinder like this. Now go to the water conveyor setup. Launch the harpoon into the very edge of the water, then place a rod where the harpoon landed. Now place a seat on top of the rod and a block on top of the seat. Make sure this is all an anchor. Now sit in the seat attached to the grinder. Place a cake in the seat so it connects you to the grinder. Now anchor the base and uncollision it. Now delete the blocks attached to the base or uncollision them. Now either place a portal under you, that the same color as the one in front of you, then you would drop and have it set up. Or unicore and place a portal in front of you and walk into it. The first one is easier, but I forgot to do it this time lol. Now scale the down conveyor block into the right pole. Then scale the water conveyor block into the left pole. Now delete the base and the portals and anchor all, and it is all set up and working. You now have the best grinder in the game. And now you have a finished 600 gold per minute grinder. This video took a long time to make, so I hope it was helpful. Also, as I stated previously, this may take some fine-tuning. This is for the base designs, so you might have to adjust a few things for it to work for you. And I uploaded this today, as it is a very special day. This is the channel anniversary, and I thank you all for the great year we've had. I'm hoping to have many more years on YouTube, and I am excited to see how far we can go. My first video was opening 1000 legendary chests. And now a year later we have a tutorial for a grinder that can get 1000 legendary chests. And thank you all for 10, 100, 200, 300, and now 350 subscribers. It all means the world to me, and I'm glad you all enjoy the videos. I hope we continue to have many great years ahead. Also sorry if some areas are a bit lower quality of video, I had storage issues lol. Sorry for rambling, but I'd like to say I appreciate all your support and I hope you enjoy.